Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:45. I'm going to call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. I'm going to ask the committee members for any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. None noted. This evening, we're dealing with application, minor variance application A0922 MacArthur, 29 Edison Drive, Vienna. The purpose of this variance is to grant relief from zoning bylaw regulations in section 4.2C and 4.2D to permit an accessory building to be located in the front yard and to permit an accessory building closer to the street than the main building is to that street, whereas the proposed location would not be permitted for lands located at 29 Edison Drive, west side and south side of Ann Street in the village of Vienna. The effect of this variance will be to permit a new accessory building, a garage, to be located on the east side of the property, which is considered the front yard and would be closer to Edison Drive than the dwelling due to lot configuration and existing dwelling location. This time, we'll ask for the staff presentation, the report DS 5522 by Margaret Underhill, Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment Minor Variance Application A0922 MacArthur, 29 Edison Drive, Vienna. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. I would also ask at this time if anybody is in attendance for this Committee of Adjustment meeting. There is a sign-in sheet here at the podium. Add your name to the list. Okay, so the report before you. Dealing with a minor variance to allow for the construction of a garage. With the alignment of the lot, the garage is actually being located in the front yard. And that is not in compliance with the zoning bylaw. So we're dealing with it through minor variance to allow for that location. It's just the orientation of the lot and where the house is placed that the garage is considered to be subject to a minor variance to address the front yard and the placement closer to a street than the main building. So the effect of the variance will allow for construction of a garage, 26 by 26 feet. And it will be located on the east side of the property. And at the same time, in the minor variance, we are going to acknowledge the reduced rear yard setback of the existing dwelling. Not that it's a red flag or an issue or anything, but we do have to recognize it as an existing situation. So we're going to include that as well. So the Committee of Adjustment has to be satisfied with the 4 tests for minor variance. The planner's memorandum dated September 29th outlines the variances and the compliance and the full analysis of those tests. Staff and planner agree that it meets requirements for minor variance. And we would recommend support in order to allow for the construction of this detached garage. So the recommendation is before you. And I will leave it with you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I don't believe the applicant or their agent is with us this evening. We'll move on. Are there any public submissions on this file?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll open up to committee questions and discussion. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Yes, committee member Donald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through you to Margaret. I take it that we're putting this garage on the front yard because of the placement of the house, basically. It's not the length of the lot, not so much there and then farther, more property for, yeah. Okay,
That is correct.
okay, thanks, Margaret. I kind of had a visual, went down and took it. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. Any other questions? Yes, committee member Weiser.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Margaret, is there going to be an additional driveway?
Through the chair, yes, they have proposed that there will be an additional driveway going to the garage. They will have to apply for a road access permit from Ann Street. And there are requirements that you have to be set back minimum 9 meters from an intersection, which they are proposing that they will be.
Supplementary, if I may.
Yes.
And that's also taking into consideration the slope, because I understand like there is a bit of a slope on that property, is there not?
There is slope on the property. When they apply for a road access permit, our manager of public works will have to assess that situation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. You stole my thunder. That's good. Any other questions? Yes, committee member Chilcott.
Thank you. Margaret, if they were not able to get that road access, would they be able to bridge off of the existing driveway and kind of go up to the garage?
Through the chair, that may be an option. Again, the manager of public works will have to assess to see where the driveway would have to be located.
Any additional questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just have one additional point. I did get comments from the LPRCA after the report was published. There are no concerns. I'm just bringing it up because they did submit their comments. They just made a reference to no concerns, provided the garage is constructed where shown in the diagram and is outside the regulation limit per LPRCA mapping included with the application. So they were just confirming that the proposed location is fine. It is outside of the regulated area and they have no concerns.
It's good. It's good. We're ready for the decision. The motion reads that the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS 5522 regarding the MacArthur minor variance be received, and that the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which helped the committee to make an informed decision. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45(1)(1) of the Planning Act and is considered minor. Therefore, application A 0922 by James and Stacy MacArthur pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act for a minor variance is granted to allow relief from Municipality of Banff zoning bylaw Z 456/2003, sections 4.2C and 4.2D to permit one accessory building on the subject lands located in the front yard and closer to the street than the main building is to that street, provided that the proposed structure is built in conformity to the other applicable provisions of the zoning bylaw and written clearance from the LPRCA is obtained. Section 10:10, minimum rear yard depth to permit a rear yard setback of 4 meters for the existing dwelling. The condition, the proposed building being used only for storage use accessory to the residential use. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Committee member Donald will move, committee member Froese will second. All in favor? That is carried. Adjournment that the Committee of Adjustment hearing for consideration of minor variance application 0922 be adjourned at 6:53 p.m. And that in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act, notices of decision be circulated by the Secretary Treasurer accordingly. Mover and seconder, please. Committee member Donald, committee member Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Stand by, council will be 7 minutes out.
Unmuted, sir.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock and I will call this regular meeting of council to order. I would remind members of council to disclose any pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. See none noted. Item 3, review of items not listed on the agenda.
No items tonight, Mr. Mayor.
I might throw something in somewhere around what is it, other business. Just an update on a couple of meetings we've had with the local NPP. We'll put it in there, okay? Announcements this evening. Does any member of council have any announcements for this evening? Nothing? Okay, thanks to Fire Chief Bernick. He gave me an announcement this evening that next week, I believe, is Fire Prevention Week. Begins on Sunday. And this year's theme is Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape. Now, in conjunction with this, there are a couple of open houses available. The Station 2, Stratfordville Station, will be holding an open house on Tuesday, October 11th from 7 to 9 p.m. And Station 1, Port Burwell Station, will be holding an open house Wednesday, October the 12th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. If all are welcome to attend, so take advantage of it and visit the fire hall. No presentations this evening, no delegations, which moves us on to section 7, adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting. We have the regular council meeting held September the 15th, 2022. And we have the minutes of the quarter revision, the Hampton Drain meeting held September the 15th, 2022. I hope that council members have had an opportunity to peruse the minutes. If there are no errors or omissions, we'll proceed with the following motion. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held September the 15th, 2022, and the minutes of the quarter revision Hampton Drain meeting held September the 15th, 2022, be approved as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Donnell and Deputy Mayor Weisler will second. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on to section 11, physical services, emergency services, and 11.2, reports to council. We have report BL 0222 by Harry Bernick, Fire Chief Bylaw Enforcement, regarding animal control bylaw requirement for dog licensing. Good evening, Chief.
Thank you, Worship. Members of council. I present before you a recommendation regarding the dog licensing requirement under our bylaw. As at most services within a municipality, there is a cost to them. The question is, at what point in time does that cost become valuable, and at what point in time should we stop? Should we look at possibly eliminating that cost? We've recently done a staff review of this cost, and as stated in the report, we have continuously increased our loss in this cost. And this year it's proposed that we will lose roughly $22,000 in this one item. Many of our neighboring municipalities, Central Region, St. Thomas, West Elgin, are all looking at eliminating their dog tags, or have already eliminated the dog tags, with Malahide and Elmer also looking at eliminating their dog tags. The change that I'm going to recommend is that we look at something similar to Central Elgin and putting the emphasis from obtaining a municipal dog tag to having the owner purchase their own dog tag with contrasting colors that would easily identify who the owner is, and also a phone number in case the dog is lost, which would basically satisfy the need for a dog tag. Or get a chip for the dog's ear, where if it is lost, it can be read at the animal shelter. Worship.
Thank you for that. I have a couple of questions, but I'll turn it over to council first. Yes, Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. Excuse me. So what happens if the dog owners or cat owners, whoever has to have this licensing, doesn't provide some kind of signage on their dog or chipping?
At which point in time, we would add as recommended in this report, that we would add a quote to a new section of the bylaw that failing to obtain or possess the dog failing to possess a tag would be a violation. And upon when they would, if the dog was lost and then the owner was found, there would be a possible charge. Again, we would go through the regular processes we do for all bylaws, education, before we ever go to charge. And if I may, I had a clarify, currently, we do not have any cat licensing fees, nor does any other municipality around us have cat licensing fees. I have been asked that question many times.
Thank you. So Chief, then what you're proposing is a one-time registration.
No, your worship. In fact, it's getting completely away from registering.
Then
What
why-
it is, it's the owner just obtains their own dog tag and places it on their dog.
Okay, where would they obtain this dog tag?
You can get them at many pet stores,
Right.
veterinarian clinics. I've seen them at there. As long as it's a metal tag or some sort of tag that clearly displays the owner's name and where they can locate, or the phone number to locate them at.
Yes, Council Pros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it's a one-time tag, what you're proposing. As long as it stays on the dog and is legible, it's all it will ever be required.
Exactly. It's up to the owner to pick the color, pick whatever shape they want, as long as they have the dog is identifiable.
Council Donald.
Yes, thank you, your worship. Through you to Harry. I think this is a great program to start. Because as we see, a lot of people already have done this, are microchipping their dogs or have tags. I was wondering if, I think I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Weiser.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, could you just go through the loss process with me? It's mentioning that we're slated to lose approximately 22,000 this year. Can you just outline what that includes?
This would include the staff hours and also in the past, it was our MEU contract. In the past, we would have a staff call every individual that was outstanding. We would also then send MEU over to the residents with a letter, and then they would have to follow up if a charge was to be laid. All building up valuable hours and time.
Okay, Chief, one of the things that I'm a little concerned with, maybe it's a misplaced concern. One of the incentives for having the dog tag program was to incentivize owners to make sure that their pets were regularly inoculated, vaccinated for rabies or whatever else. And if we remove the tag program, because you can't get the tag unless, right, and there's a discount, they were spayed or neutered as well. But if we don't have that incentive to sort of program, was to incentivize pet owners other than their own volition that they want to keep their pets safe, which I agree.
Your worship, I am branching out, but if I remember on my last unfortunate dog bite investigation I dealt with, under provincial law, there is a requirement to have your dog vaccinated, an updated vaccination, so that if you do not have the dog vaccinated, there is an investigation that can be done by the public health unit.
Yeah.
Also, and also the Dog Owners Liability Act does not go anywhere. If your dog is deemed to be a dangerous dog, there are steps that we will take, and being the bylaw officer and also provincial offenses officer, I am authorized under that act to in fact investigate and or go through the steps to have up to the point of having the dog destroyed if it was deemed necessary.
Thank you for that, Chief. Okay, any further questions? Okay, I'll read the motion and we'll see if anyone's interested. That report BL 0222 regarding animal control bylaw requirement for dog licensing be received for information. And that the requirement for each dog owner to license their dog through the municipality and purchase a municipal dog tag be discontinued effective January the 1st, 2023. And that the identification of a dog by way of tag and or microchip be the sole responsibility of the owner. And that the appropriate amending bylaw be further amended bylaw number 2015-113 as amended, be brought forward for council's consideration. Now, just a point of clarification. I assume the bylaw itself will identify provisions making it responsibility for the owner. to have
That is correct. That will be
It
the.
must be
will come
tagged.
first. Sir, your worship. That is
All right.
correct.
Anyone interested in moving that? Counselor Chilcott will move. Counselor Donald will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Moving on with item B, report FR 0722 by Harry Barnick, Fire Chief, Bylaw Enforcement Hour, regarding Elgin County Fire Communications Equipment Study, fire paging and two-way radio communications systems.
Thank you, your worship. As stated in the report, back in late fall 2021, we had a slight malfunction at one of our towers. When we had our service provider go and look at it, they also suggested that possibly looking at changing a lot of our equipment. Now, these towers are actually owned in a cooperative effort through all the municipalities that are within the county of Elgin. Apologize for that. So henceforth, we have our equal share. And when something goes wrong in one of the towers, we pay our equal share, as they would do with our tower. Because we are not technology specialists, we took due diligence and inquired with a consulting company called KBA Communications, and they reviewed our equipment within the fire system. In their recommendation, they made several very good recommendations. As I said, they reviewed it and they looked at their service and they said our equipment right now is adequate and will last. We have a little flinch in one of our areas, but we've worked around it. And he says, you can do that. He does not suggest piecemealing the repairs. He says, what the problem with that, if you start piecemealing one repeater, you have to do it to all sites. And you do that one repeater, then when you want to change the system, because technology changes, then you have to go and change the next 2 or 3 repeaters. And you may be locked into a process as compared to an outright change that may be more beneficial and updated. So henceforth, in their recommendation, they recommend that all municipalities look at putting a reserve aside for the future. Our share would be for 5 years, as every other municipality would be for 5 years, a $30,000 reserve for this one particular project. And henceforth, starting 2024, I was respectfully requesting that starting 2024, that we start a reserve for our communications at the set of amount of 30,000 as agreed with the other chiefs within our county. We'll be making the same presentation to their councils.
Okay, thank you for that report. Does council have any questions for the chief? Chief, when's the expected time frame for the replacement of the repeaters or any other equipment?
Right now, there is no replacement. We are working, as I said, we have found to work around this one minor glitch.
Mhm.
It is a tack channel in our west, except for one possible area. That's not really an issue. They found the other towers are maintaining their strength, or they just go simply to another tack channel. Within our county system, we have 3 tack channels, 2 operational channels. So we also can work on the OFM channel if we really need to. So we have many channels that we can use for that one channel, that's for that one tower.
Thank you for that. And I noted that in the attached report to your staff report, quite comprehensive, fairly technical in nature. If I read in there, there's no expectation of any major change in technology for the next 10 years. And I was just wondering if that's the same time frame you're thinking of when this might be the appropriate time for the investment.
Respectfully, your worship, he was saying that possibly in 5 years.
In 5 years.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that.
Yes.
Okay, still looking for questions or comments from council. Counselor Donald.
Yes, thank you, your worship. Through you to Harry. I noticed in the report when I was reading through it that there was going to be quite a bit of change as more medical was being involved.
Thanks, your worship.
Is that in this report or is a future report coming?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a matter then. Oh, it is, sorry.
No
I
worries.
got ahead of myself.
Yes. Okay, anything else? Counselor Chilcott.
I just want to say that I like the idea of being proactive and saving the money up now rather than somewhere down the road. Maybe it'll die in 3 years. At least we're partway there. And it's not one big lump sum at one time that we're gonna have to come up with. So I like saving for the future.
For that, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. The one map configuration in the report where it's highlighted in red and it's showing all the counties. There's quite a large section that's white. Is this the glitch you're referring to? Is there coverage there in
No.
Suchwold or are they in a zone-free area?
Through your worship, the area in question is not affected at all by this map because they do have communications where they are.
Okay,
So it only had to do with one particular channel within our communication system in that one area. So that, as I said, I cannot speak for this map. As I said in the report, it's only guaranteed a 94% coverage area.
okay.
There are some areas that cannot be caught, and we have some in our area that we know of. And
That's
we are looking at possibly setting up mobile repeaters within our vehicles that will use a signal from a portable to a mobile radio. Portable comes out at 2.5 watts, mobile is up to 20 watts, and that gets distributed.
Okay, thank you for that, Chief.
Yes, just continuing on that same vein, and you mentioned it, Chief, you look at the north end of Bayham. There's an area there north of number 3 that looks a little sketchy. As you say, does it impact just one tax station or is it 2 channels?
Your worship, sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No.
Again, your worship, when a channel, it's not a channel that gets, it's the entire
It's a
system.
system.
So it's not only a TAC channel, it would be the entire system. And we have 1 or 2 little glitch areas up there that we all know of. We've gotten used to it. And as suggested that if we were to use a portable at the scene, drive a truck down, as long as it's within eyesight, maybe 3 kilometers, and use that portable to back to our communications, that would solve the problem.
Absolutely. Very similar to the scenario they paint or, yeah, they explained for working over the bluff on the beach.
That is our other area of concern.
Okay, thank you for that. Is everyone satisfied? We have a motion that reads a report FR 0722 regarding Elgin County Fire Communications Equipment Study, Fire Paging and Two-Way Radio Communication System Study be received for information. And that a fire communications reserve be created and included in the 2023-2032 capital budget. And that commencing in 2024 and for a period of 5 years, $30,000 per year be allocated to the fire communications reserve. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councilor Pros will move, Councilor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item C, report FR 0822 by Harry Bernick, Fire Chief, Bylaw Enforcement regarding renewal of medical tiered response agreement. Chief.
Thank you again, Worship and Council. In this report, we have been requested by Midivi Emergency Medical Services to update the tiered response agreement. Upon review of the tiered response agreement and upon review of our establishing and regulating bylaw from the fire department, we have, it was realized that council, within the Schedule A, it says that we will respond to medical tiered calls as per the agreement with council and EMS and the CAC for London. ambulance service. Henceforth, Your Worship, I reviewed all the different tier responses within the municipalities in Elgin County. I found ours lacking some responses that I consider to be somewhat life-threatening. I was thinking of the public when I began to review this and to add. I really do not see an added cost. Usually one or two of these will follow within another one. Person that may be bleeding will be going unconscious, so we're going anyways. Somebody with difficulty breathing, we are going to that. However, we go to somebody that's not, has their heart, the heart is stopped. But if they're having a heart attack, getting there the first signs of a heart attack and possibly administering an AED is life-saving, and it's been documented how that can help. Henceforth, I did a comprehensive review on the some of the less serious calls. I followed other municipalities within our region, and again, suggested that this is a paramedic call only and not a fire department call. And on the other calls where I said we'll only go if there's going to be a delayed time in the ambulance service. So with the ambulance service, and if they end up going through their master plan that they were looking at to county, where they're possibly looking at expanding the paramedic service, including our area, then this would also cover it because they would be within that required time and we would not be dispatched. Worship.
Thank you for that, Chief. Just to clarify, if EMS response is greater than certain minutes, you touched on this, but that would also refer to our current first responder that we have.
That is correct, Worship.
Yeah.
Unless he needs backup.
That's correct. And yes, I do concur that there will be ambulance coverage coming to Bayonne. I think it's in the short term, and further expanded as we go along. But
Exactly,
I look
Worship.
forward to those announcements.
And if we find a need for this to be again changed, I will bring it forth and make suggestions.
Thank you for that. It's often, just as a comment, it's a judgment call, trying to figure out where do you dispatch your services, where do you not dispatch your services? And I know that none of us around this horseshoe are medical professionals. We don't know. And we try to do the best we can. The more that you put on the plates of our emergency services to do, the greater the cost, of course. But then you got to think about the balance with the cost of a life. So yeah, it's pretty difficult to do. We're saying that by moving to this new list, we are somewhat equivalent with our contemporaries out there. I guess is one way to characterize it. Does anybody have any comments and or questions? Yes, Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. I may have missed it in the report, but what does code 4 stand for?
Code 4, I apologize for that. That is the ambulance term. That's with lights and siren.
Sorry?
Lights and siren, you're going as fast as you can.
Okay, thank you.
Fast is permittable. Yeah, let me correct that one.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Weiser.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. So has there ever been discussion, Chief, of, I know it's difficult because we have a volunteer fire service, but has there ever been discussion of reducing the number of firefighters that are attending for a medical scene call? Or is, because it just gets paged out and then you sometimes will have 15 guys show up and you only really need a couple?
Through your worship.
Please.
There has, I know that one or two fire departments within our county are looking at possibly doing a tiered pager system where a platoon would be assigned for a particular weekend, because we're really talking weekends and nights. During the day, as it's becoming more commonly throughout the nation, it's getting harder and harder for find volunteers for during the day. And we will still respond at this particular time. That would be for the entire station. However, for nights and evenings, especially weekends, they're looking at possibly having a a platoon system, there may be an added cost in that, because if you're expecting somebody to be on call, then they're going to be taking away from their private time, then there could possibly be a standby pay. And they're looking at that as to, I know the question was asked recently, how much does anybody else do this and how much do they charge? I have a meeting in 2 weeks with the chiefs. I'll see what the results were. However, I'm actually looking into that.
Thank you for that.
Yes, Councilor Donald.
Yes, now I think I'll ask my, thank you, Your Worship. So, as I said, there's a lot of medical calls, and so I know that the personnel and the volunteer firefighters, they get a lot of training. So is there going to be more training, Harry?
Through your worship, thank you for that question. I've been kind of a lead for the fire chiefs, myself and the chief from Colin, I forget his last name, I apologize for that, it's just slipping me. Anyways, we were both once assigned to the Muskoka Simcoe area. And in the Simcoe area, the fire departments, 90% of them have all agreed to working with a base hospital to have training in the local paramedic service. If this was the case in Simcoe, it's done through the county. Firefighters are all trained at the same level. They all have oversight from a doctor. And the other nice thing about it is that they have with the oversight comes a check on your system. An automatic, every call is verified. I brought this forward to the London Middlesex hospital system. They have told me they're interested in this. Again, we're in the very beginning stage of this. It may be exciting. I have to see how my brother and sister chiefs really feel about this, but I'm hoping that this will go forward. At this time, this may be a time to go to the county and say, county, are you interested in the system too? For the services within the system.
Thank you for that. That's a plus win-win. Thank you.
I would look forward to some more research on that.
That's probably your worship. I have, thank you.
Okay. Everyone satisfied? So we are looking at that report FR 0822 regarding the renewal of the medical tiered response agreement, TRA, be received for information. And that the appropriate bylaw to authorize a new tier response agreement with Medavie EMS and the London CACC be brought forward for council's consideration. Mover and seconder. Councilor Donald will move, Councilor Froese will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item D, report PS 1822 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding the bulk items curbside pickup 2-month update. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, your worship, members of council. So the 2-month update has come for the bulk item. The report before you includes a little bit of the information provided. As you know, August 29th was the first pickup day we had. And with following with September 27th or 28th, it got pushed to. Both events went fairly smooth with the contractor and municipal staff. It was only indicated that half a dozen possible properties actually had more than the 2 cubic meters allotted. However, the contractor did pick it all up. Everything was picked up within all these amounts. It was documented, the properties. I also attended pretty much all the scenes to document, take pictures of everything kind of for our context. So, further into this, if we continue on, you know, a letter or the contractor was just like your garbage bags, if you, or your recycling boxes, they could have put a sticker on it if, you know, they find the volume is too much. However, it seemed to go fairly well. As you know, they picked up at 58 locations that amounted to roughly 7.34 tons of waste. This accounted for about 1.1% of the properties, or the eligible properties within the municipality. So if within the report, the expenditures on it, you can note that the decrease from September, the users in September were 32, or sorry, August were 32 over 25